Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of I Was Too Lazy to Put on Makeup, but We're Here Anyways. Or, in other words, the
Same.
Just Average Fangirl podcast. My name is Jordan.
And I'm Natalie. We got a lovely little episode to talk about today. We're going to start off by talking about the two new this week's and last week's Loki episodes, which I'm super excited to talk about. And then we're going to talk about a movie we both watched called Cabin in the Woods. And we're going to finish it off, or maybe we might switch around the orders, talking about some other stuff we watched this week. So, Jordan, do you want to give me your thoughts on the newest Loki episodes? Actually, start it off by talking about last week's episode, and then we can talk about the newest one.
Okay, so spoilers for episode 5 and the finale of Loki. So you have been warned. So episode 5, I quite rather enjoyed. I thought it was really interesting to like the world, I guess the little Easter eggs that they had, the whole like land right before time was so interesting, and I loved the different Lokis too. I mean, the alligator one was just so funny. It was so random, but I loved it. I loved the scene where they were all just betraying each other. I thought that scene was so funny. And it was just so good. I yeah, it was really I think Loki, the older Loki's ultimate sacrifice was really like he kind of had his own mini character arc, and it was really like aw no. And it definitely left a really interesting it ended at a really interesting place. I was talking to a friend, a mutual friend. He in fact encouraged me to use his name, Julian. So I was talking to him, and he brought up he doesn't have the same Loki bias that I do. As in, I'm literally in love with Tom Hiddleston. So I think I want to get more into my thoughts, as especially with the finale of the series as a whole, because I think that's where. But I think this individual episode 5, was very interesting. Again, just some weird love stuff with Loki and Sylvie, which continues in the next episode.
Oh,
We have to talk about that. So yeah, like I bought yeah. All right, now I'll let you give your thoughts on episode 5.
all right, episode 5 was my favorite and will remain my favorite of the whole series. I thought it was so good, and it was just so much fun. And seeing all the Lokis together and how all of them were slightly different, but also so much of the same person is just so much fun to watch because they're all so bickery with each other, and there's so much contrast. It's literally like the phrase where it's like opposites attract, but instead in this case, it's all the same kind of magnet, and they're all repelling off of each other. And the fact that there was a crocodile Loki was just the best thing in the world. I thought that was hilarious. And how it bites off one of the Loki's hands at one point. I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. And what you were saying before about the classic Loki and how he sacrifices himself. And it's such a beautiful moment. And just the idea that like all these Lokis underestimate their own power, and we finally get to see their power and see them not just use their blades or whatever. And you also see that in the finale when they're fighting each other. But I really like that. And another thing, so that Loki where he's on the, I guess, like politician vote for me kind of outfit, that's just not what I expected that like picture that we saw in the trailers to be. I just thought, okay, so what I had originally thought was, I guess our Loki, the real Loki. I don't know if it's the real Loki. I'm just gonna say our Loki. I thought he was gonna get to the void area and he was just gonna become the ruler of all the Lokis, and that's why he had all this vote for me kind of stuff on. But nope, not at all. He gets like beaten up by Loki. I loved watching all the Lokis fight each other too, and it was really interesting hearing about all of their what's it called, the Nexus events and each of the Loki's like lives and everything. I thought that was really interesting, especially how one of them kills Thor. That was crazy. And it's weird to imagine the Loki we get to see and we have seen through the Avengers movies. Like, what if he had done these Nexus events that they've done? Which is, it's cool and weird to think about. Also, so is the Loki we see the original Loki? See the real one, or all of them are technically like their original and their own real ones?
I'm not really one to get into time travel logic, but I think they are all like some variation of the original Loki, even if they look different or
Yeah.
whatever they are. But if they do something that goes against like killing Thor, for example, then that's when they that's when they're outed. So I guess I think that's probably it.
Yeah. Also, sorry if I'm like squinting so much. I can't see anything. It's so bright outside. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, that was definitely my favorite episode so far, and it's just a shocking, shocking episode all around. Just, I don't know. I really liked it, and seeing all the powers and just having Mobius come back in the car and everything. It was just a very fun episode altogether. I guess that those are all my thoughts on it. I'm really excited to talk about the finale. Jordan, give us your thoughts on the finale.
Okay, so I'm gonna detour a
Yeah, of
little
course.
bit. Yeah, let's talk about what, because I discussed it with one of our friends who's also a big Marvel fan, and I don't know. He made some good points that I want to echo. I don't agree with all of his criticisms, but I think he did bring to light, I think, some of the issues with the show, which maybe, like I said, I was too in love with Tom Hiddleston to really notice.
Understandable.
But I do think it's important to not, because it's a discussion, and I want it to not just be us being like, oh my God, I love this. We have
Yeah.
even if you. So I do. One thing he said that I do agree with is is how the writing for Loki himself was very inconsistent, or not very, but we talked a little bit about this with the powers, and how some moments where he's just super powerful, and then others where like it's just very weird. Like sometimes he's like super clever and mischievous and will kind of be one step ahead, but then there are other times where like my friend he gave the example of when Loki just gets thrown out of a train. Like, I don't know. I feel like he could go. I haven't seen the first two Thor movies in a while, but he could theoretically go toe to toe with Thor, or at least use his powers or something too.
Yeah.
And the fact that he just kind of, or like gets beaten up, not even by Sylvie, but by her inhabiting some Walmart guy.
Yeah.
Kind of, I feel like he could have used more of his powers there, or even. I mean, Loki was always kind of pathetic in a way. I mean, I'm thinking back, he presents himself as so highly, but then there's the moment in the first Avengers where he's like, I am a god, and then Hulk just smashes him all over. Like, there was always that hint, but he was always still, I don't know what the word is, clever, I guess, is the word. Or he always sort of knew how to outsmart someone, or or charm. And we get a little bit of that. We get a lot in the first couple episodes. For example, when he initially escapes Mobius, or when he figures out that they're hiding in apocalypses. And I'm like, yeah, that's the Loki we know. But then they're just, and I do like the idea of the fact that Sylvie and Loki both always think they're the smartest person in the room. I mean, yeah, that's a Loki being like, oh, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. No, that's dumb. But like there was that moment where Loki but then there's actions, he decides to get drunk on their own. Like, I don't know, like that feels like something Thor would do, not Loki.
Yeah.
It just jeopardized their whole mission. That was just very that was very odd. And just moments like that, or when, he's like, oh, I'm gonna kill it, and they're like, that's your plan, to kill it? And
Mm-hmm.
just kind of, because even like the idea of killing it feels more of something Sylvie would do, because she's definitely
Yeah.
more brash, and and I'm gonna get I do want to get to the finale, but I also want to sort of
Yeah.
lead. This is sort of my trend. That's like that's the main thing, and it's just with the Loki shot. I think it made me, and especially with the finale coming out, I think it made me realize something. I wish there was more of Like I feel like, I don't know, maybe it was a studio thing, or I don't know, but I wish there was more of Loki being Loki, like of him, but like, the moment where he's president, it's like, oh shit. And because this is going to bring me into the finale, where I also want to shout
Mm-hmm.
out this review I saw of the finale, which I don't agree with everything it said, but it did make a lot of good points, where it just kind of stops, where it just doesn't even, like, I get, like, in a lot of ways the Loki we've seen in past movies has kind of been an act in a way,
Yeah.
but still, just to do, I don't know, I don't want to say a complete 180, but then just, so here's where I'm gonna get the finale. And I also want to echo the review I saw. I forget the website, but I think it's Polygom or something like that. And I promise I'm getting to the point. The idea when, I wish they had done more of the Loki machine. Like, he wanted the throne, essentially, of the TVA for a longer period of time, because it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of by episode 2 he doesn't really care about that.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely leads to an interesting twist in the plot, but in terms of the character, it just kind of becomes Sylvie's story more, and not Loki's. And the moment that the article pointed out is when Miss Minute says, oh, you could have whatever you want in New York, you could kill Thanos. And it's just kind of a moment that's brought up, and then, like, kind of brushed away, like, no, I don't want that stuff anymore. Like, not even like an, oh, but I do, but I don't know. I just don't know if I buy he would have changed so much from what he, or in like that time span, from what he originally wanted. And then, to echo more how it just feels like it's now Sylvie's story, this episode really, he has no personal stakes in this episode. And even I thought, oh, like he was gonna kill Sylvie or something to stop her. Like, oh my god, like that would have been so dramatic. But no, she just pushes him out and he's gone. And then she does the big main character thing of killing. I mean, I think it's supposed to be Kang the Conqueror. We can talk about that too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm gonna try to find the reviews called. But yeah, that's what some of that I sort of talked about with our Julian, and and it brought sort of light that kind of stuff. That, yeah, so those are my initial thoughts. Natalie, I'll let you talk.
1 second. All right. Okay. There's so much stuff I want to say on the idea of King the Conqueror. I also saw this one TikTok where it's the TVA is technically in the quantum realm or the quantum dimension. You know what I'm trying to say? In the Ant-Man and the Wasp, like when they get that. And in the next Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, apparently the villain is King the Conqueror. So maybe it's on like the same idea of everything. We'll find out later, but I just wanted to point that out real quick. And I get what you're saying. Definitely. You actually mentioned a lot of the points I was going to mention about the finale. Whereas I was kind of let down by the finale, honestly. It felt so out of place for the whole series in a way. Especially because the second to last episode was just so good. Like the last two before the finale, I thought were really fun, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. But and then the finale was just really disappointing, and it felt very out of place. And the writing was really weird too. And it was like the one episode that I was thinking, and it sounds so rude in a way, but I couldn't tell if it was really bad writing or really bad acting. And I love Tom Hiddleston. He's a great actor. So I don't want to say it's the acting. So I think it was definitely the writing. Everything felt so weird. One moment in particular, I forget what Tom Hiddleston Loki was saying to Sylvie, but it was, oh, it's so weird. It might have been like, wait, but then he says it again with like more gusto, and then they start fighting, and even the fighting was kind of weird and awkward in some parts, and I don't know. It was just kind of disappointing in the way because everything up to that point was in so good, and also to mentioned what's his name, the He Who Remains. I'm just gonna call him that because we don't know if he's King the Conqueror yet. We'll find out. But I have mixed emotions on him. I love him absolutely so much. He was so much fun, and just his character in the beginning was so much fun. But then he, I don't know, the ending of his character was weird. Like there was very weird switches and changes in each of these characters that didn't have a clear build up or a clear train of thought or a clear process. It just kind of was like do with all their emotions. And for him, I guess it's more understandable because his emotional state and how he's acting is very spotty like that. But I don't know, it felt weird in some way. I don't know. It made me feel icky. But just to talk more about the finale and everything, I'm so happy there's a season two. More Tom Hiddleston and Loki content. That is, I'm super excited for that. And that little ending part where we see Loki go back to Mobius and he's like, oh, blah, 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 the end, all this stuff. And Mobius was like, who are you? What division are you in? All that stuff. That I love. And that's going to put a whole new idea of just Loki struggling and all that kind of stuff. I think that could be really fun. But going back to your idea of Sylvie being like the main character for this episode, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. But I love Sylvie. I think she's a fun character, but I didn't like that. Like uh Tom, I don't know. You were saying like, oh yeah, Sylvie would be more likely to the person who would be more likely to kill the beast. What's its the big cloud beast? That's what I'm gonna say because I forget its name. Um, yeah, everything felt really weird at the end. Also, I still refuse to believe that Sylvie's Loki. I mean, she literally is. It's proven. I mean, not proven, but it's mentioned a lot. I feel like she just does not seem like a Loki, if anything. And the relationship. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's weird. It's not. I don't know. It's weird, and the way Loki's emotions were at the end, like he just dropped everything he had and dropped every kind of personality trait he had. And it was all of a sudden all lovey dovey and be like, oh, I just want you to be okay. And yeah, that's great, and yeah, that's cute, but it's not fitting. Like it came more out of nowhere. There was I don't know. I think it's just weird because we haven't really seen Loki be this lovey-dovey and emotional, and we've seen him more as a trickster and kind of more selfish and everything. But it just felt really weird, and it felt out of place for the character. And what you were saying before is, I wish there was more actual Loki writing where it's he does want the throne, he does want all of this. And that brings me back to what I was thinking in the beginning, where I thought it was really weird to get so much Loki content for such a long period of time, where just it's not just like a scene of him and then the rest of the movie is about someone else. It's just all him. And that felt really awkward to me at first. And I think it's because it's he's just being written differently. Like the Loki we've seen before is very contrasting to this Loki. And it's even weirder because this Loki we had right here is from the New York time, which is so different from this actual Loki. This Loki feels more like the Infinity War and Endgame kind of like Loki, where he's I don't know. It's just it feels wrong in a way. And I love him and I love this series, but I don't know. The ending kind of disappointed me and threw me off a little bit and kind of made me look back a little bit negative towards the whole series, but I do really like the series. I don't know. It's just rubbing me the wrong way. Everything felt everything felt very short. They were kind of, I guess they were like, we're not going to say too much because there's going to be a second season and all that kind of stuff. But even when oh, what's her name? The judge, hold
Renslayer?
on. Yeah. Even her kind of ending, whatever, when she just leaves was weird. Like everything was very, very vague to an extreme. And I that might just be me, but I don't know. I did like the show and I loved everything about it. Actually, no. I feel like I'm gonna start picking at things and like nitpicking, but I don't know. I can't say anything more because I feel like I'm gonna start tearing into the show. But I did like it and I did enjoy it and I loved seeing Loki and I'm in love with Tom Hiddleston, all that. But there's stuff that's like starting to irk me after watching the finale. Like before watching it, I was like, everything about the show is perfect. I love it. And now after watching the finale, I'm like, well, but yeah, that's all I'm gonna say for now before I dig too much into it.
No, yeah, Natalie, I think we got to separate our thoughts from Tom Hiddleston from the show. I gotta say.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, just to echo something you said, you mentioned how it was really weird to get like a lot of Loki, and I think what you've said is exactly, I don't want to say why, but it's exactly the way I feel as well, especially after
Mhm.
talking to Julian and watching the review, which I want to bring up also. The review is on polygon.com by Siddhant Alka. So I don't want to act like all these thoughts are original because they're not. But something that you sort of brought up was I thought like He Who Remains was a really interesting character. I thought he was really cool. He wasn't as expected. He had really the actor played him in a really cool way that was almost creepier than if he just played it like I am Kang the Conqueror, or I'm just gonna
Mhm.
call him Kang. I don't know. But I just thought, but here's where I'm gonna get into the review, which okay, so this is just making me appreciate WandaVision more. Because WandaVision sort of did a similar thing. We're introduced a new antagonist in the last couple like episodes, Agatha Harkness, right? And we have in that after we first hear her name, have the Agatha All Along song. We get one scene at the beginning of I think episode 7 where we see her backstory. We know who she is. They're done. She's an immortal witch. Let's keep going. And then it gets back into Wanda's story. This episode spends like 70% of the time explaining Kang's backstory. 60
Yeah.
maybe. It just comes to it just stops to explain who Kang is in the finale and who this character is, a character we've never seen before. And by that extension, this character really only has emotional baggage with Sylvie. So Loki's just kind of sitting there for
Mhm.
at the time, just kind of, and it just, yeah, I mean, the article is kind of coming to a grinding halt. And, I think that's part of why the finale, because, we talked about how the issues with the WandaVision and by extension, and even more so the Falcon and Winter Soldier finales, was that they just kind of felt like one big long action scene. This
Mhm.
is just one long scene of people sitting and talking. That's really, at least to me, that's what it felt
Exactly.
like.
Yeah.
And it was just Kang explaining his backstory in a chair. They tried to give it some visual element, but it was still just like by this point, I don't know. Like, does that make sense? I think that's why. So I do
Mm.
appreciate how they tried something different rather than just having a big long action sequence where everyone's just fighting each other. But then it's about this, the entire episode's about of the finale isn't about character or Loki overcoming some sort of character arc or trying to persevere through something. It's a villain, a character we've never seen, who's just sort of this omnipresent thing, kind of like, I don't know, I don't know if you'll get this reference, but like A from
Yeah.
Little Liars, or Gossip Girl from Gossip Girl, is just kind of this army, and it's still even though this thing's always there kind of pulling the strings or poking, it's still about them trying to, but this one's just kind of about them explaining. Like, I personally am fine with vague finales that leave things open. That's not something that I'm like, oh my god, it has to. Yeah, that's just me, you know. I'm fine with things being a little open, things not leaving off on a high note. I'm fine with that, but I'm not. It'd be like, to me, this would be like, we have WandaVision, but in the finale, instead of, well, this is like close to the finale, but I'm just gonna call it, instead of them going through Wanda's, character arc and seeing her phases of life, we spend half the time looking at Agatha Harkness's character arc, and Wanda's just kind of sitting there watching it happen.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it was just so, I get what you're saying when you said it was weird. And by this point, Loki just doesn't have a character arc. That's why I said I wish we had more of him reveling. Because also he's like, what, like 1,000 years old at this point? I just don't really buy that in such a short amount of time he would have completely changed to just wanting to settle down with a different version of himself. I just don't buy that he would have stopped caring about the throne so quickly. Like, that's why I wish, like, he betrayed Sylvie and killed her or something to, or try to manipulate her or somebody for longer to try to take control of the TVA, and maybe found out, oh, they're like not real. Like, it's about him, and then he gets to that point and realizes, oh, they're not real, and has to go and find out who the real timekeeper is. Is any of what I'm saying making sense? Yeah.
No, it totally does. And I wrote a few notes while you were talking. One thing that really bothered me about He Who Remains character was how he ate the apple. He would be chewing for such a long time, and when you're eating an apple, you don't chew for like 3 minutes after. And that was just one thing that really took me out of it, honestly. I was so frustrated because he would take the smallest bite. I doubt he was actually eating the apple, honestly. And then he'd be like, for like 5 minutes, and it was so frustrating. I just need to get that off my chest because I was thinking about that the entire episode, and maybe, I don't know, this is really reading into it, but in my head when I first saw the apple, I was like, ooh, Adam and Eve, the forbidden fruit, end of time, beginning of time. So I just want to throw that in. Another thing, I think in all the series, maybe, I don't know about WandaVision. I don't know. All the series, they could have just not had that last episode and given us a second season. And they could have actually extended things, because all the last episodes in WandaVision, I don't know about WandaVision. I think I'm okay with WandaVision, but
No,
more the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah. Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki, they could have taken out the last episode and just made a second season and actually explained things and actually took their time with things. And two things about Sylvie and Loki's character. It made more oh my god, it honestly like really frustrates me now that just there's that love interest. And I think that's partially our fault because we've wanted love interests for these characters for so long, and we're like, oh, we love them, like let us like give them love, all that stuff. So I think that's partially like the fans' fault in a way. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, and that honestly, at first I was excited for it. Was like, ooh, potential love. Then I was like, this is actually kind of weird. Then I was like, I really hate this. So several stages of grief through that. And I wish they hadn't done it. I wish it was more of like, oh, I want to be best friends with you, not let me kiss you. It made me really upsetting. But what was I gonna go? Oh, last episode, us. Oh yeah, I it it would have made more sense for Loki to fight Sylvie more, or even try to kill Sylvie, something along the lines of that. But I think they didn't do anything too drastic because they were making a second season, and that might happen later on in the second season. Or I don't know. I think they had to leave it very vague and open so they could have more stuff to work with in the second season. And I think the only thing they really needed to happen is for King or He Who Remains to be killed. But they could have just not had this last episode and done a second season, and it would have made everything so much better, honestly. I don't know what's with them. I mean, it's all different writers and directors, but they're just messing up these endings. And it's a little bit frustrating, but yeah, it is frustrating in general. It makes me think back. Thinking back, I think WandaVision, I'm the most okay with the ending. Like it stinks, but it it was okay. Like I'm not too upset about it anymore. In the heat of the moment, I was a bit more upset with it and I was like, it's kind of disappointing, like not my fave. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They after watching Loki and thinking of WandaVision, man, they really messed up with that show. Like they could have done so many things better and they just cramped it all in together. It was just so condensed and nothing really I don't know. It really frustrates me honestly because I love both of them so much. Like Sebastian Stan, Anthony Mackie. Oh my god, I love them. Great characters too, Sam and Bucky, but no, they messed up and can't go too much into that. There's other episodes probably when we actually watch the series where I got frustrated about that too, but yeah, those are my going back to Loki. Yeah, they could have just not had that finale, and the episode before left it open ended enough to set up the finale and all that kind of stuff. So that's a bit frustrating. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Excuse me. Sorry, I keep yawning. My goodness.
All
So
right.
yeah. Oh, out of the whole series, what do you rate it from 10? I think I'm gonna give it. I can't remember what I rated WandaVision, so I'm gonna tie it with WandaVision. I'm gonna say an 8 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. I think without the finale, 8 out of 10. With the finale, 7 out of 10.
Um, it's like I like genuinely don't know because
Mhm.
like rating it based on the show alone versus what I wanted to see, I guess it's really hard to say. It's really hard to
Yeah.
say. I think with what they wanted to do, you, I think you're going to hate me, but I'm actually gonna tie it with because I don't know. I'm gonna go either from a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10.
That's reasonable. I know what you mean by that. I think the biggest plus points for me is the fact that I'm in love with Tom Hiddleston. The fact that I think Owen Wilson, is that right?
Mhm.
I actually I thought I was hating on him at first. I was like, I don't know if this is the right guy for the part, but I think his character was great and I really love that. So I think those two really raise it up. And the fact that we really did not know where this was going. Like it was really like scattered. Like they did a really good job with all the twists and even with the previews and trailers. I did not expect any of this and I think they did a really good job with that. So yeah, those are my two. Like that's why the points are a little bit higher. But yeah, I understand a 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. Yeah.
A what? Sorry.
I do understand that you would rate it a 6 or 7 out of 10. That makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I had to let it sit a bit more. Just kind of let it reflect. But yeah, I don't know. WandaVision's still my standard. Like the only thing I really had
Yeah.
I don't want to even say problems with, just stuff that wasn't that interesting was the finale and the real world stuff. But I think as
Yeah.
its own story, it still really worked well, which is the thing I'm sort of conflicted with Loki here because I don't know, like comparing it to how we've seen him before, but then just looking at him, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, those are our thoughts on Loki's. I still think I need to. I think both of us are both kind of, kind of
Yeah.
tugging pull.
to marinate in our thoughts.
Yes. Let it marinate. Yeah, so I'm not I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. I think just the finale makes me look back at the whole series and be like, well,
Exactly. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. I feel that.
all right, so those are our thoughts on Loki. Natalie, you said you watched a fun comedy special over the past week.
Yes. So a season 2 of a show called I Think You Should Leave came out. It's from the comedian Tim Robinson. Oh my God, I think it's hilarious. It is very much my kind of humor. It's a bunch of little short skits in each episode. It's so funny. It is honestly, I know I use this word a lot, but it's so heinous in the best way possible. You should definitely, the episodes are like 15 minutes each. They're so heinous. Like, oh my God. Quick, they're so bad. And it's so good in that way. And they have great, what's it called? Transition music. It's like kind of funky, old timey music. But just to show you what the show's like a little bit, one of the little skits that they have in it, it's like so bad. I can't even begin to describe it, but it's really good. It's purposefully, I don't even know how to, it's really good. Oh my God, it's it's one of my favorite shows, honestly, just because how okay, the best way I can describe it, it makes it makes you feel kind of gross in a good way. Like, it's just it's just so bad, but so good. I don't know if you know what I'm, like, trying to, it's not like Birdemic where that's so bad, it's so good. This is, like, it's so heinous, but that's what makes it funny. Like, it's very awkward. That's it's it's so good. Yeah, a quick little, summary of one of the skits is, so it's it's in this department store, and this big hot dog car has crashed into the store, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, did you see who did that? Like, what's going on?" And then this one guy who's dressed in a hot dog costume was like, "Man, yeah, we should really find who did that." And they're all like, um, "We know it's you." And he's like, "What? No." And it's really bad stuff like that, but it's done so well, and just the way they make it so awkward is so good. Oh my God, it's, you gotta watch it. Honestly, just 15 minutes. It's brilliant. Um, a little information about it. So the second season just came out. There's 6 episodes in each season. The cast is Tim Robertson, Andy Samberg, Sam Richardson. Those are just some. There's a lot of people in the show and a lot of like random guest stars. It's, I'm reading off of Netflix right now. It's for ages 17 and up. I mean, I watched this when I was a bit younger, but it's honestly like there's just cursing and that's about it. I don't think there's nudity. I'm pretty sure there's not. But it's really funny. There's a lot of comedians on it and it's just really fun and very awkward. Not like Portlandia awkward. That's more cringy. But it's really good. I like it. So yeah, that's, I just want to give a quick blurb on that. um Jordan, you said you watched a movie. What, tell us about that?
Yeah, first I want to say that that special sounds really interesting, and I'll definitely at least try to watch one of the sketches. They don't sound too
Mhm,
long, so
mhm.
so yeah, I watched a movie called Hell or High Water, which came out in 2016 and was directed by a human. Let's see what his name is. Um, definitely was David Mackenzie is the director. Um, it's really I don't know if this is a personal thing, but so
Mhm.
overall the movie was good. It had great acting, especially from the three leads, which comprised of Chris Pine, Ben Foster, and Jeff Bridges. They were all fantastic. The cinematography was great. The editing was actually really good. I thought the editing was really strong. The cinematography was gorgeous. I thought the story was nice and simple, but very. I think worked really well. I think the biggest thing was like why because like I was looking at letterbox and and this movie was nominated for like best picture, I think best screenplay, best supporting actor for Bridges. It has a bunch of reviewers I follow on Letterboxd gave it like an 8 out of 10. Like everybody it seems loves this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it was just like it's not bad, it's not a bad movie at all, it just feels like stuff I've seen before. Like it feels like a story I've seen before. These feel like characters I've seen before. So the basic plot, I don't know, Natalie, maybe you could help maybe tell me if I'm wrong or not, or maybe this just isn't my type of movie. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about these two guys, two brothers who go on this bank robbing spree, and one of them is a divorced dad who wants to get this money for his children so they can keep the ranch that his mother owned. And his brother is an ex-con who's very trigger happy and much more like brash and violent than the
Mm-hmm.
other brother is. So it follows them doing their scheme in order to save their family's farm, and all the while, a cop played by Jeff Bridges is hot on their trail, and he's very close to retirement. That's the basic
Mm-hmm.
plot.
It is it a comedy?
It's a drama. There are comedic moments interspersed.
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't. I don't think it would be my kind of movie. I I feel like I would get. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's not very special or spicy. There's this other movie that, I mean, the only thing that's similar to it is it's about bank robbing, but it's called Logan Lucky with Adam Driver. Yeah, that's is it anything like that or no?
I haven't seen Logan Lucky, but I've heard of it.
Very good.
I know about the general tone. This film is much more from because I do know the general tone of Logan Lucky. It's like more
Hmm.
comedic, right?
Yeah, definitely.
No, this film it's a drama, essentially. It's more, I guess, gritty would be the word. It's
Yeah, I
very
don't think that would. I feel like that wouldn't be my kind of movie. I feel like my parents would like that kind of movie,
yeah,
but yeah. Did your dad like it?
yeah. That was gonna be it's a very dad feeling movie.
Yeah,
Like
that's what it sounds like, honestly.
yeah, it's kind of a neo western is the way I would describe it. Like it takes place in West
Mhm.
Texas. It's very open, a lot of country music. It feels very,
Mhm.
I think it's part of the genre neo western. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very dad movie, and is the way I would describe it. I don't know. There were some places where it was kind of boring too. Like I was just saying, like, oh, the ex-con brother who's a womanizer, and
Mhm.
you know, kill like and the dad who wants to support his wife, and it just these feel like characters we've seen before, and I don't know. And the only
Yeah.
character who kind of seemed interesting was Jeff Bridges' partner, Alberto, who was this Native American guy, and he has this really interesting monologue about how, oh yeah, my ancestors took it like this land from me, and you know, Jeff Bridges just kind of uses him as like I don't want to say a punching bag, but just kind of like to make like he's just kind of like as a like as to make kind of make fun of him, and not in a mean way. Like the character of Alberto is clearly like, all right, whatever, dude.
Mhm.
It's just, and then his character doesn't really resort to much. It's just final say it's just a very white story. Like it's just these are
Yeah.
stories we've seen before. Like these are just characters,
Yeah.
white characters we've seen before, and these are just I don't know. Like I'm not really that interested in the Western genre in general. There are a couple I do want to see, definitely, like a couple like Clint Eastwood movies. I would be very interested in checking out. Like Good, the Bad, the Ugly. I definitely want to see that. But this just feels this movie. I don't know. There's just nothing to bite into, you know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I did give it a 6 out of 10 on Letterboxd because I did still think it was well made. It just didn't have that extra thing that made me go like, wow, like I love these characters or I love this story or you know what I'm saying? I don't
I
know.
know
Maybe
exactly
it's
what you're
also
saying.
someone who because I love sci-fi, I love fantasy. I always love that thing, but with aliens,
Yeah.
but with
Yeah.
futuristic technology.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. I've seen some Western movies, even though I love the idea of the cowboys and I love the name cowboy. Like it's so cheesy, but I really don't care about Western movies. The few that I've seen bore the heck out of me. It makes me feel, ugh, cannot sit through it, honestly. But going back to the idea of Logan Lucky, such a good movie. It has the guy who plays from The Boys. What's his name? The main guy. I'm completely blanking on his name. The
Carl,
tall, nerdy guy.
no,
Um,
you can't.
it-
Whoever played Hugh Campbell. Oh my god, I forgot his name. Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid.
he's in it. So it's a great movie all around. Like so many good actors. I'm blanking out on everyone's name. The guy who plays James Bond right now, Daniel Craig, Sebastian Stan. It's just so many great actors. It's a great movie. I think it's hilarious. You should totally check it out. Also, really quick, I just remembered that a new season of one of my favorite shows is coming out. It's called Ted Lasso. You can watch it on Apple TV. It is such a funny and cute series. Honestly, it's so cute and it makes you very happy feeling. It's very positive, but it also talks about real messages. It's about this guy who is hired to coach this football team in London, but he has never played soccer, like football, soccer. You know what I'm talking about. He's never played any of that. He doesn't know anything about it. And we find out that he's actually been hired because this lady who inherited the team from her now ex-husband is trying to just destroy the team. She's very mad at her ex-husband, and this team used to be his favorite thing in the world. So she's trying to just completely tear it down by hiring this awful guy to be the coach. But it turns out Ted Lasso is just such a good coach because he's so positive and motivating, and the team starts to get better and better. And it's such a good story, and it makes me so happy, and I love it. And there's a new season coming out July 26th. If you have Apple TV, I totally recommend you watch it. It is so good. I love it. There's not that many episodes in it either, I don't think. But yeah, that's just want to add that in real quick. But yeah.
So I do have Apple, at least for another, I don't know. I got like a free thing because of our phone plan or whatever. So I'll try to check it out. There's also this other show coming out called I think Schmarmageddon or something. Schmarmadon. It's by I think the director of Men in Black is working on it, which is the main reason I'm interested because what Men in Black is unironically a film that I love. It's literally one of my favorites. Men in Black is so good. And so I was excited.
Same. I forgot about Men in Black. That used to be my favorite series when I was younger. Wow.
No, but yeah, so I'm interested to see. But yeah, Ted Lasso sounds like a really interesting show. All right, shall we move on to our movie event of the time? The Cabin in the Woods was Natalie's random recommendation from last week. It came out in 2011, but was and or not but and was directed by Drew Goddard and written by Goddard and Joss Whedon. Stars Kristen Connolly, Chris Hemsworth, Anna Hutchinson, Fran Kranz, Jesse Williams, among others. It was actually, I think, it's a horror comedy. And I guess the basis. So spoilers for the Cabin in the Woods. So Natalie, do you want to give your initial thoughts and also talk about your, I guess, viewing experience of the Cabin in the Woods?
I would love to. So, Cabin in the Woods is about these five college friends who goes to this cabin in the woods, basically, and they all slightly fit into the stereotypes where it's like the jock, the nerd, all that kind of stuff. But we find out that there's these people watching them, and they're kind of pushing them and tricking these college students into becoming more of these classic stereotypes. And we find out that they're doing all of this stuff to kind of kill off these characters as a sacrifice to these random gods down in the earth. That is a very vague description. And that's all I'm going to give to you guys because I'll probably explain it more as we talk about the movie. But I don't know how I feel about this movie. I guess I liked it. I don't know. I don't know. So the big part about this is I literally watched this movie like stop and start, stop and start, stop and start for like I think like 4 days. I tried watching this movie. I just could not get like through it because I kept getting either distracted or like had to do things. And I think that might have soiled my viewing experience. I'm not sure. I remember one of my theater teachers told us that if you want to read a play, don't do stop and start. You got to read the whole thing through as if you're actually seeing the show to give respect to it. And I understand that. And it makes sense, of course. But I guess that adds something different to it because you don't have time to really think about each thing or forget about things. And so I watched this movie very stop and starty. And I think I did like either like 30 minutes at a time or like 20 minutes at a time. And it took a while to get through it. And I don't know. I have very mixed emotions on it. And also, one really funny thing I want to point out is oh my gosh, at one point, what's his name? Hold on, I need to look it up. Marty. So, right before Marty gets dragged and like we think he's killed, it like we see him get dragged and then immediately cut to a commercial break for me. And I don't, it was the funniest thing in the world. Like, it was just completely dark. And then this happy, like, ooh, Kellogg's cereal commercial. So, I just wanted to point that out that it was just a very heinous time to put a commercial. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this movie because I don't know. I guess I don't think I resonated it with it very much. I thought it was done very well and they did a great mix of comedy and scariness. But I guess I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. I love Chris Hemsworth and I was really excited to see him. But his character was kind of actually okay. I don't know. I don't want to say the movie was boring because it was not. I just didn't connect with it. And I think a part of that might have been because I kept watching it and not watching it, watching it, and not watching it. So my mind wasn't very active on it. It was kind of more of a disconnect. But I don't know. I liked the concept of it. And I really liked the idea of all of it. It had a great cast. And I like how we see Marty kind of figure everything out. And we see him realize that they're being watched and all of that kind of stuff. And I really liked the ending. That was jam packed with gore and horror and all that stuff. But I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna say I did not care for this movie too much. It was a fine movie to watch, and I enjoyed watching it, but I would not watch it again by any means. And I'll probably forget about this within the next few days. So, that's the meanest possible way I could say it. But it's a good movie. It's got a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'll agree with that. But it's not for me. You know, what are your thoughts, Jordan?
So, I actually really liked this movie. And I thought it was I thought I forget where I saw this, but it was just such a cool concept. And I don't know, I'm a big concept person, I guess, but it was just I thought
Hmm.
they used it in such a cool way that was so interesting. I mean, yeah, it wasn't the most thought-provoking movie, but I thought with the concept they were going for, it was so cool. The idea of taking these horror tropes and saying, "Oh yeah, it's to do something so absurd to appease the evil gods," and
Hmm.
they have to stick to it. It was just so interesting the way I don't want to even want to say subverted the cliches, but used them. I guess. And it's also interesting because I had a very different viewing experience because I just watched it all the way through. I think I stopped once to go to the bathroom, but
Mm-hmm.
once or twice. But yeah, and the ending was so fun. That's what I knew about going in. The box scene, like where they're looking through when you see them moving. I didn't know about that. I think I saw a clip like years ago on YouTube or something. But even still, I thought it was really fun seeing everything play out. And I think with the characters, I would have gotten to like them I would have liked to have gotten to know them a little bit more and for them to I don't wanna
Mm-hmm.
say more emphasize, but to say, "Oh, the blonde girl's actually really smart," but,
Yeah.
or that Chris Hemsworth's character is actually I think a sociology major rather than just kinda being told that at a random time by Marty or something. But yeah, I think that was so I would have definitely like but I think just to get them but even still with in the context of it's kind of this weird meta thing they do where even in the context of the movie they're just kind of disposable meat bags to sacrifice to the gods. So I don't really think I would have liked to have cared about them more, especially
Mm-hmm.
since we have spoiler warning, right? The world
Yeah.
literally ends at the end of the movie. So but I just think it would have been interesting to play that contrast a bit more. But yeah, I just thought the end and the fact that they have oh, even the office scenes are so interesting and I guess fun would be the word. How they have this one scene of them all about to try on an ambulance or use a shell, and they're putting bets on who they would summon. And it's just all these
Mm-hmm.
cliches like a diary or you put on a necklace or you move a box and it would summon this thing. I just thought that was all so fun. And even the ending when all these creatures are just unleashed and yell at gore and it's just so I keep using this word, but fun. I did have a couple issues with the movie, which I will address. Probably the first one being, it's not even really an issue, but I feel like there were some weird comedic timing issues. I don't even know how to describe it. Like the moment, for example, Chris Hemsworth about to go on the bike and be like, "I'm gonna save you," and it's so heroic. And then just kind of the timing again is weird because then he just like the idea is
Mm-hmm.
funny and then he goes off and he just crashes into the wall and just falls. I don't know. It was just weird timing with that. I'm like, am I supposed to be horrified? Am I supposed to laugh? Also, there's another really jarring moment where the idea of the joke is funny. Um, and he where the guy's like, I'm really rooting for this girl. She's got a lot of heart and oh the tequila's here. Like the idea of that joke, but it's just weird. I don't know if that was the actor's delivery or the editing or something that just made it feel a little bit off. Because the idea of that joke is really funny to me. Um, but yeah, the idea of this movie is just so interesting. It wasn't very there were some scary parts, but it wasn't really scary. Um, Probably the scariest part was, Sigourney Weaver showing up at the very end. I was like, "Oh my god, Sigourney Weaver," which I thought was genius casting because she's kinda become a horror icon with the Alien franchise. So, I thought that was a really fun little, celebrity cameo. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I also thought the ending was I don't know, it was just really weird how much of an asshole Marty became all of a sudden where he was it's just weird all of a sudden
You
how
left off talking about Sigourney Weaver.
yeah, I just thought that was a really clever casting choice because with the Alien movies, she kind of became a horror icon in a
Mm-hmm.
way. But the ending was also really
Yeah.
weird how like kind of an asshole Marty became and he wasn't willing to sacrifice himself for the end of the world. I don't know, I thought maybe if they made it more clear, like, how if he just hated humans or whatever, I don't know, this is just general terrible terms. Then they're just like, "Yeah, let's just let the world" it was just
Mm-hmm.
very weird. I don't know I don't know. I was just kind of that was just really off-putting how he wasn't really willing to sacrifice himself for the end of for, like, everyone else and to let everyone die a slow, painful death. That was just very weird. and I thought a very
Yeah.
I was probably the
No, you
least
can go.
yeah, just probably the least I don't wanna say clever, but it was just kinda like, "Oh, okay, he doesn't wanna die. Alright." It was just the least, I guess, clever part of the movie. Um, but yeah, I just thought there were so many really cool moments. I really like this film.
Yeah, I think for me, I would have liked to see more of the underground and more of the I don't know what to call it, like the people working behind the scenes to have all this happen. I think that would have been a lot more fun for me, and I wish they leaned more into the comedy part of it because there was a good balance of the comedy and horror, but like you were saying before, is like some of the comedic timing was awkward, and I think that's because of how like quickly it kind of switches back and forth to the serious. I did not care for what's her name? Like I guess the main girl. Hold on, not Jules, the other girl. Dana. I don't know. I didn't care for her. I thought she was a bit annoying. Um, I guess I didn't connect with the characters as much, and I guess we're not supposed to connect with that group of five because they get killed pretty quickly. But I don't know. It was a bit I don't know. Yeah. I definitely liked the security and like behind the scenes. I thought that was all really funny and how it cuts to the one of my favorite parts in the movie is when it cuts to the like Japan team and it's all these like little girls like surrounding this little pot and there's like a little ghost demon girl on top and it's like sucking the demon in and then they're like the ghost will now live on in this happy frog. I thought that was hilarious. It was like my favorite part of the movie. But yeah, I wish there was more comedy in that sense and more of the yeah, I think the whole operation people was just really funny altogether, and I wish I got to see more of that. I think that's my biggest critique. And I definitely do think it was my viewing experience that kind of threw me off the game because I remember when I was watching the first 30 minutes of the movie, I was like, this is a really cool movie, and the concept of it is just awesome, and I really like it. And then as I kept stopping and starting, I started to like the movie less and less. So that's really interesting to play with. And I mean, I don't want to play with it because I don't want to ruin my watching opportunities and experience. But yeah, I guess that's my biggest takeaway. Oh, actually, one more thing. The idea of the end of the world kind of, you either have to like kill yourself or like you don't and the world ends horribly. That's also talked about a little bit in the Loki finale. And the thing about that is you just can never, you don't know who to trust or who to believe. And of course, it's, I don't know. It's, if I was faced in that opportunity, I would not know what to do. I think I might, I don't know, because you've just gone through this experience and it's the idea of, oh, if I had to go through this, then like, sure, some of it must be real, but it's like, what I, like that stuff you have to go through and all of that. And what if it's not real? You would have to live with the guilt of killing your best friend and all of that kind of stuff. And that's really frustrating.
I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it.
I would give it a 6 out of 10, just from my own experience of enjoyment of it.
Okay, can I give a random recommendation too for next week?
Yes, 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 of course.
Okay, so it's since Natalie did it last week, I shall do it this week. And this is a movie. I've been kind of getting into the music a lot lately, like the soundtrack. And so I've been really curious about the story behind it. So the movie, it's on HBO Max, that I am recommending for us to watch for next week is the 1972 film directed by Bob Fosse, Cabaret. Have you ever seen this film?
I have not, but I would love to.
All right. So tune in next week. We're going to talk about Cabaret, maybe Black Widow. I'll probably see it sometime next
Hmm.
weekend. Any shows? I'm hoping to finish Battlestar Galactica by then. I'm more than halfway done. All right. So that was our episode. Natalie, any final words?
Not really, but I hope you guys had a lovely time listening. Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Bye.